Backwoods Obscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. This last week we didn't hang out, and me and my wife decided to go fishing, and we did pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. You also got really sunburned.
I got really fucking you actually saw it because I was like, hey, does this look bad? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, there's like 2 spots in there that look pretty gnarly.
Yeah, so I think I got a touch sun poisoned. If you don't know what sun poison is, look it up. So I was so focused on catching brim that like my dumbass forgot to put more sunscreen on. So I was like raw dogging that sun.
Yeah, that is not a way to ever phrase that.
I was raw dogging that sun until my back got burned. I guess the sun was raw dogging me.
Yeah,
when you think about it.
Yeah, took my son to the dentist, and we're gonna have to get 2 cavities filled. 2 of his permanent teeth have cavities. It's probably connected to his medication, because that's not apparently good for your teeth.
Look, I have pretty bad teeth, and I also have ADHD, and I took ADHD medicine all my life.
So, I mean, it's one of those, I'm not super upset about it because I shouldn't actually have to pay anything for it between insurance and his Medicaid. It's
just one of those things stressing.
Well, I feel bad for him. He's not complaining about his teeth hurting.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to tooth pain, you never think it's going to hurt until it starts hurting, and then it's
unbearable.
Yeah.
So we did that, but he was very good at the dentist office.
Is it in anteriors or posteriors?
I don't know. I think it's
back teeth or front teeth.
2 molars.
2 molars.
He has cavities in his first 2 permanent adult.
Yeah,
molars.
He needs to get those filled.
Yeah, he also has cavities that are in 2 of his baby teeth. And they said they're going to fall out before you need to worry about anything. So
yeah, you don't have to worry about that. The biggest thing, when it comes, and this is the dental tech in me coming out, but when it comes to the molars, he needs to keep those as long as possible because those, especially first molars, are kind of like the ones that help keep everything in place.
Yeah. Well, talking about the dentist's office, though, that's kind of the segue into where I'm going to tell you about.
Oh, no.
I'm going to talk to you about a New Orleans landmark.
Is it a dentist office?
No. It is known as LaPrete Mansion, or the Gardette Mansion, also known as the Sultan's Palace to every ghost tour.
But is it a dentist office?
No.
Oh.
So, before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and throw my sources out there. Ghost City Tours, Library of Congress, NOLA.com, and Zillow.
Zillow.
Now,
wow.
Let me give you the history of this iconic haunt. It's in New Orleans at 716 Dauphin Street. It was built in 1876 by Frederick Roy, the architect. It was commissioned by Joseph Gardette, a wealthy dentist. There you go. The dentist, our segue.
There we go.
Now, it is a 3.5-story French colonial style townhouse mansion. So it's not a palatial, massive mansion like people associate the South with. Those are called plantations. It's townhouse. So the people who own the plantation outside of town had this so they could live in New Orleans for the season.
Okay.
I couldn't necessarily clarify when the season was. I've also done these notes way back when, so because I usually have 3 or 4 of these to go whenever we do recording, we can pick it, or I try to.
Yeah, you're the one that preps 3 or 4 ahead of time. I'm the one that's scurrying.
I get a child that falls asleep on me with my laptop in my lap, and then I just start looking at stuff. So the half story is a half basement, much like our friend Don's house in New Orleans. It is a basement that is about 4 feet below ground and then 2 or so feet up that go before you get to the first floor up some stairs.
Yeah.
So
I have never actually been to his house.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
I forget that. It's really weird to go into a basement in New Orleans, by the way. Also, this one is weirder than Don's because this one's in the quarter.
It's in the quarter?
It's on Dauphin Street.
So it's sitting there in the most floodable area with a basement.
Well, one of the most. We know where the most flooded areas in New Orleans are. We're going on 25 years since, or 20-something years since Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
A style note for this place is the open-air porches on the first and second floors forming galleries, hipped roofs, and large French doors. It was especially more popular in the warmer French colonial climates. You've seen these doors all throughout New Orleans. So the doors the windows are the size of a door.
Is that like the Napoleon House
deal? Similar.
Yeah.
So it's the massive windows that you can open up to allow a full breeze to go through the entire...
Okay, yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like if you go buy a house in the French Quarter, especially if you get over near Flambourg or wherever the hipsters have moved to, or some of the styles over in Carrollton, they have those large windows because before the invention of central air...
You just let the air
You
flow
opened
through.
up a massive window. So... to give you an idea, this place is 7,057 square feet, has 9 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms. The house was sold in 1839 to Jean-Baptiste LaPrete, a wealthy bank merchant, for the whopping sum of $20,000 or $20,049.
That's a lot of money for that time, I think.
It was. The estimated value today in that sale would be $5.3 million.
That's some money.
Let's see. LaPrete lived in the mansion during the New Orleans season, which I put as fall, because we've been to New Orleans in summer.
Yeah.
Like, air conditioning is a thing, but walking in New Orleans in summer, like Emily and I had our honeymoon in New Orleans. And I remember there was one day we walked around the French Quarter and I had salt deposits on the inside of my shirt.
I will say this about New Orleans when it comes to the summer. I saw Gojira in 2021. I can't remember exactly when. It might have been, in that pocket before or after the summer. It's been a while and I have a bad memory. But it was like weirdly cool for like if we were here in North Louisiana, it would be hot as balls and we'd be suffering. But we were walking around the French Quarter.
Now, if you get a breeze, it's not terrible,
and it was
but
nice.
But I'm just going to say this. I remember when Emily and I honeymooned in June in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't think it was in June.
Walking around, sweating through my clothes, and constantly drinking water and tea, and still not having to go to the bathroom.
Now that I mentioned that I was at a Gojira concert in 2021, someone's going to look it up and know exactly when the date is. Like, probably not in June. I would guess.
Now, when the season for New Orleans was gone, they would live at their plantation down in Plaquemines Parish the rest of the year. Which, if anybody outside of the state of Louisiana, Plaquemines is the figgly wiggly little bit at the bottom of the toe that goes out into the Gulf of Mexico from Louisiana.
That's disappearing.
That is slowly disappearing. By slowly, I mean
pretty rapidly. Actually,
football field a year.
Yeah, it's
gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, because of the Civil War, LaPrete had to begin leasing the mansion to start covering his exorbitant lifestyle costs because he no longer had free labor through slaves. So he had to start renting his town mansion. Oh no!
Oh,
he had to lease the second boat out to somebody to pay for his first boat.
Oh, he had to use the yacht to pay for stuff because he didn't have slaves.
So, now, when we might have to talk about that monster that haunts the South, because that's the whole situation is.
We got a few monsters that haunt the South.
Yeah,
we do. Real.
We do. But it's very the whole issue of slavery is very, very complicated and very, very wrong. And one of the things that, like, I've tried not to shy away from here on the podcast, so I mentioned it, is you cannot mention Southern history without mentioning slavery. And the reason that I have no pity for LaPrete is because
he was a slave owner?
He was a slave owner, but not just that. He was a large estate slave owner.
Okay, so he wasn't just the guy that was like, I have a couple of slaves.
No.
He was guy, like the stereotypical, I have a plantation full of...
He had an extremely large plantation, like bigger than when we talked about Cretin Place.
Yeah.
So... Not a lot of pity here. Also, gonna go out there and say Backwoods Obscura does not have a lot of pity on when the wealthy have issues.
Oh, no.
Because we've been told eat cake enough.
Mm.
And the only cake sometimes I can afford is a Swiss roll. That doesn't count. It's styrofoam.
You can't eat styrofoam, but you can eat the rich. Anyway.
That's a t-shirt. So, here's where we go away from the history. And we get into the story of the Sultan's Palace. The one that if you go on a ghost tour, or you go on a haunted carriage ride, or you go on a haunted bus tour, you're more than likely going to stop here and you're going to hear this tale. Because once again, there are multiple beautiful buildings throughout all of New Orleans that you can stand in front of and people go ooh and ah, and you can tell a spooky story and it would fit that building. So, due to Petrie's money situation, post-Civil War, that he found most unfair in his accounts, that he should be left destitute.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. A Turkish man approached him and offered to lease the mansion for his brother, a sultan, from somewhere within the Ottoman Empire.
Well, that's ominous.
Well, also, the Ottoman Empire was possibly Egypt, maybe not Egypt, because sometimes it was kind of independent, kind of part of the empire. Sections of North Africa.
I forget how big the Ottoman Empire was.
Well, this is when the Ottoman Empire had started to wane, and because
even still,
like at its peak, the Ottoman Empire was from the Atlantic Ocean in North Africa all the way over down the Red Sea, through Egypt, parts of northern Sudan, and Mecca, which has been in the news recently because of people dying on the Hajj because it's so goddamn hot. So all the way down to Mecca in the Persian Peninsula. Not Persian Peninsula, the Arabian Peninsula. And getting all the way to the edges of modern-day Iran, which was Persia at that point. Or
it might have been Iran or Iran.
I am an American, and I pronounce things incorrectly, so it could be either. But at this point, I think it would have been the Safavids. I think it was the Safavid Empire that kind of evolved in the modern Persia. And then Turkey, parts of Greece.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, correct you.
No, it's fine. I'm saying
I literally don't know.
The Ottoman Empire was massive, but by this point, you're talking, mostly the eastern portion of the Mediterranean. So, what is modern-day Turkey, part of Greece, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Gaza, parts of Jordan, and Iraq. That area, Armenia, Azerbaijan, that area was where they're from. So we're still talking about a geographic area that is fairly large. So
that's an intensely large area.
And
also,
intensely,
I like how you skip through a couple. We're not going to mention which continents you skipped through there, but we're not going to get into
Africa, the Middle, Africa, Asia, and part of Europe. Those are 3 continents. If you're talking about countries, I mentioned one that some people don't acknowledge.
Yeah, but just
so there's
going into the fact that this is a small place. I guess I'm just showing my whole ass here, and that I'm kind of like a bumpkin in terms of where I'm at. It's thinking about someone from halfway across the world is leasing something here in our dumbass state. It's just wild to me. Well, but then again, I've ran into people in New Orleans that were like from Ireland, Asia, like all over the world.
Well, here's the deal. Yes, it sounds kind of weird, but there is a Sultan of the Ottoman Empire that was in charge of anything, but there were a bunch of other local rulers that might still try to use the name Sultan, and we'll get into some skeevy facts that might be about the quote-unquote Sultan here. But you get a dude from the other side of the world that is offering you cash up front to lease your mansion so that they can have a party house in New Orleans. How many rich people have a party house in New Orleans?
Oh, I mean, I think all of them.
A lot of them do, yeah. So it's not a rich, wealthy person coming over here and doing this. Also, just for the story element here that we can remember for in a minute, we have a very foreign man coming to New Orleans with large sums of money. It makes the story a little bit more romantic than all of a sudden like, hey, Charles from Boston came down here and I want to rent your wicked mansion. I'm going to throw a kegger. Like, you know, it's... That one would be like, fucking asshole tourist, but the Sultan is coming.
Oh, yes.
Like, even I'm getting tingles, right?
The prince is here.
So, since LaPrete was desperate for money, he agreed. And shortly after he got paid, the Sultan's entourage showed up within a couple months. Now, finely dressed women, silks and satins got off the boat. The eunuchs and the soldiers with their long bayoneted rifles.
I'm sorry, the eunuchs?
Yes, there were eunuchs.
I mean, I know that's a thing, like...
Well, how else do you keep the harem safe?
Yeah, okay.
Well, before the invention of the little blue pill.
Just people...
So then the Sultan and his brother came in, and then behind them, the furniture. Deep mahoganies. Mahogany. Cedars and cypresses. Old world furniture of the highest quality. I made sure to add that in because I dabble in woodworking. The locals are absolutely awed by the opulence. Because remember, this is post-Civil War Reconstruction New Orleans. Everybody broke as fuck. Except for the people who were already...
Rich as fuck,
and now they're just rich.
Yeah, they went from rich as fuck to...
Rich.
We're good. We weren't as good as before, but...
No, that's like saying they went from rich as hell to middle class. No, they're still rich.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're still sitting there going, oh no, bread is $3. What are you gonna do? Not that they're buying bread. They might be well, they're probably buying bread because down here, well, we would have more cornbread than... Any case, I'm getting off on a whole tangent that we don't need to go on.
The baker now charges $4 instead of $3, and they're like,
I guess, while other people are... Man, I gotta pick between fucking bread and rent.
Yeah.
That sounds like a problem that still exists.
Wow.
Anyway.
We won't get into that.
Soon the mansion became a massive party house with the sounds of pleasures, both carnal and mundane. So it sounded like the beginning of a Rob Zombie song.
Oh, More Human Than Human. I know which song you're talking about.
Or Living Dead Girl, where you have to remind Rob that vagina is not a musical instrument.
Well, like, More Human Than Human is similar because it's like...
The moaning at the beginning of the song.
It's like, okay. It's like half a minute of just moaning, and it's like, okay, I get it now. I get it. Just get into the guitar sliding.
Come on, just get into the... Let me remember playing Twisted Metal with your music in the background as a child.
Yeah, Dracula, yeah, zombie, yeah.
As much as you're making fun of, I do fully enjoy the Dracula song because it's so stupid.
No, I just like, he's like, skippity bop, yeah, blood and guts, yeah.
Skippity gore. All Rob Zombie was skippity gore.
Skippity totally gore, yeah.
No, anyway, The smells of spices and opium and the sound of music and the sound of music constantly came out. Here's the deal. If I'm walking by and I can smell the spices come out, okay, I'm a New Orleanian and I smell spices. I'm pretty sure everybody's outside this house like, what you doing with that bay leaf and cardamom?
It's like, what you doing?
And then all of a sudden someone is like, that's opium. Oh, we need to get out of here before the cops show up. Where are they cooking though? I don't know, but we ain't going to jail for it. Anyway.
Gotta wait till the lights go out.
Now, no one was ever invited in, which made the elite of New Orleans mad and curious because they were getting shafted by this new foreign upstart. Like, yeah, you old money New Orleanians are upset that a potential royal said, no, to you.
Oh, so they're just mad at the foreigner. Basically.
They were mad because okay, there's probably a lot of that in there too, yes. But there's a lot of, I ain't getting invited to any of these goddamn parties he's having. And that is the biggest faux pas, Charlotte.
So they were just like, I cannot believe you having a posh-ass party without me.
Without inviting any of us. They all had their bleach bangs and their Stanley glass mugs outside the house cursing.
They're just like, hello? You haven't said hello to any of your neighbors.
I'm going to have to contact the
HOA.
The HOA about all these smells after 7 p.m.
What does that smell like? Cardamom? Sounds foreign. Oh my God.
Yeah, stop. Now, goods were left at the door and gold was collected the next morning. So they would drop the groceries off, come the next morning with the next set of groceries, get paid. So it was like a constant, like, money's on the doorstep, leave the shit and go. They were door dashing.
Man,
back in the day.
It's amazing how DoorDash
has been around for like 100 some odd years. So
we just find new ways to fuck over workers, don't we?
So everybody is just all the New Orleanian elite are just frustrated about this. Everybody is confused at what's going on and they want to see. I mean, it's basically there's a big ass 24/7 party going on for over a month. But then a hurricane hits the city.
As it does.
And it's a bad one. It's a heavy, heavy hurricane. The city buckles down for the storm, and once it cleared within a couple days, there was a horrid sight to be found in the Sultan's palace. Blood was pouring from underneath the door of the mansion into the street. Some accounts said as swift and fast as a waterfall down the 4 steps into Dauphin.
That's a good bit of blood right there.
Now, as the police knocked the door open, and it took some force because it turns out there was a dead body of one of the massive eunuch guards without a head wedged against it. So they had to not only move this big heavy door, but also move him. And when they did, more blood poured out ankle deep on these police officers, making pretty much a river of blood, and the smell of death permeated everything. Some say up to 30 yards away. Just the smell of blood, waste, and offal that had been left to sit for 3 days during this storm.
Goddamn.
Now inside, everybody had been brutally murdered. The Sultan's entourage was butchered down to the man. Nobody, eunuch, soldier, or harem woman, was left alive. They were all flayed and or dismembered around the entirety of the inside of the mansion.
So, what you're saying is, it wasn't the hurricane.
No, it was not the hurricane. Unless that hurricane had a knife.
The hurricane bust open the door. Hey, motherfucker, it's time for you to go. And just started slashing and whacking and bashing.
As they made their way to the courtyard of the mansion, they could see within the soil of the rose garden that there was one hand jutting out of the wet soil, clawing for the air, but never got to it. And as they cleared the dirt away, it was the body of the Sultan.
Oh.
Most believe he had been buried alive 8 feet down.
So, I mean, he really got close, didn't he?
Now, the brother and all the riches that had been seen going in were never seen again. The police believed the brother had committed the murders and fled using the storm to conceal himself. Also using the city of New Orleans as a way to dispose of his brother without being noticed back home, where he could be killed and trialed, or put on trial and killed. Now, other versions say that the brother's body was found, and that they believe that there was a note that said, "This is what happens to traitors and thieves." So the Sultan might not have actually been a sultan. He might have just stolen
all his riches.
Stole the Sultan's treasure. Yeah. Others say that the brother was found and that there was a jeweled dagger of the Janissaries of the Ottoman Empire found there as a warning sign for anyone that was to mess with the true Sultan. The truth may never be known. Now, let me go ahead and tell you the truth.
We actually have the truth?
Let me go ahead and tell you the truth.
You said the truth would never be known, so we have the truth already.
Yeah.
Did you find this?
Yes, I did.
You found this personally?
Yes, I did. It was underneath the stone.
Oh, damn. They didn't look there?
Apparently not, because the stone had on it totally 100% not where the evidence is.
Oh, I see. They were trying to do a sneaky on you.
Yeah, so anyway, LaPrete was broke and lived in the house until 1878. So the timeline for when the Sultan would have rented from him is now a little bit in question, because LaPrete was still living in the mansion when supposedly he
was in there. Yeah.
Leased it. In 1878, the Citizens Bank foreclosed on the house and took it. Irony, LaPrete helped found that bank, and they took his house. Got him. Here's the deal. No newspaper articles about a sultan visiting the town or a mass murder, which, let's be honest, even in the late 1800s, if a rich-ass dude from the Middle East rolled into New Orleans, was throwing a bitchin' party every night, it would have been in the news. It would have been in multiple newspapers.
Yeah, they would have been like, this foreigner.
Also, the number of women, upper-class women, that would have written in their little journal that this is such bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Would have survived. So there's literally no documentation.
Like, everyone would have been talking about it.
It would have been in print. It would have been somewhere in print. Now,
they would have taken the time with the printer's press to put this on paper.
Mm-hmm. Also, there would have been a legal document for leasing.
Exactly.
Well, okay, maybe not. If someone had me a whole ass bag of gold,
just be like, just go.
Yeah, go ahead. So the earliest version of this story is from 1922, from the book Legends of Louisiana. I kept on saying the book of Legends of Louisiana. Legends of Louisiana. Vague details and multiple versions of this story exist, depending on who you talk to, depending on what decade you've heard it. Just like any urban legend, this is a wonderful story to tell in front of a beautiful house in the scariest city in the United States, both supernaturally and naturally, on a ghost tour. This is a great story to tell. I love this story, and I've heard this story 3 times on different ghost tours, and the tour guides get most of the facts the same, but they always add their own flair. And it is never not fun to hear. It's always fun to hear this story. But that's all it is
it's just a story.
It's just a story. However, the building does have some documented hauntings.
Ooh.
None of them to a sultan.
Aww.
Now, in 1979, the wife of D'Amico, which there was a guy in 1979, last name was D'Amico, he bought the building and turned it into apartments. So, when he bought it, turned it into apartments, his wife was staying in the penthouse and reported a shadow figure at the foot of the bed that was just staring at her. She didn't really get like a bad vibe, but like, here's the deal. Even if I'm getting a good vibe from a shadow man that's like 8 feet tall at the foot of my bed,
it's not a good vibe, actually.
Even if it's like, be not afraid. Oh no, fuck that.
It's like, yo, you're kind of scary though.
Like, okay, I don't know if I mentioned on this podcast. I know I've mentioned in one of our D&D games is the translation from Hebrew to English of be not afraid is probably not 100% accurate. It's probably more like, if you did a direct translation, it would be from Hebrew to English is stop yelling. Stop screaming.
Please stop. Look, I'm not going to hurt you. Please, shut up.
Pretty much. Like, I like very much big vibes on the fuck is going on now? So, any case, she saw that, she turned the light, and it disappeared. Now, later on, Mrs. Nevins bought the property from the Amicos and reported her keys and other small objects going missing. That's not ghosts, that's fucking Lutons. Or Lutans.
Fucking Lutans, they're everywhere.
Watch your knives.
Watch your knives, watch your socks.
Fuckers. Now, also there's reports of a Confederate soldier on the first floor and a lady in white that several several residents have witnessed on multiple floors, as well as paranormal enthusiasts who have gone into the building and done investigations.
I mean, like, okay, not to like poo-poo the Confederate ghost, but
we live in the South. You can throw a rock and there's a Confederate ghost story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every place, like, doesn't matter where you're at. Like, I think even the Myrtles have like a Confederate ghost.
But here's the deal: I would believe a Union ghost before a Confederate ghost in New Orleans, because there's no history of this being like a military hospital, and also the Union occupation of New Orleans lasted longer than the Confederates using New Orleans as a post or as a port. Also, this is the only like negative ghost story I've seen, and that is one man's dog got yeeted down the stairs to the laundry room.
No.
Like he felt like a bad presence, and then his dog literally got yeeted 4 steps down.
No.
So there's at least one asshole ghost there.
No.
Also,
I want to hug the dog.
Several residents in the apartment complex have noted weird smells. Like, now if you're in New Orleans, the smell of smoke, like cigarette smoke or cigar smoke, I can believe that coming from outside at any given point. But like the smell of food being cooked in a kitchen that is not being used or has not been used, like you walk into an apartment for the first time and you can smell somebody making gumbo.
Yeah.
And this apartment's been empty for weeks. And no matter what you tell me, no matter how good it is or how fucked up and burned you might make it, the smell of that gumbo is not going to last that long if you clean the place. Also, they've heard talking, so disembodied voices. There's other reports of shadow figures, kind of like corner of the eye, around the corner, dart away kind of thing.
Usual shadow figure.
Yeah. Now, some additional things of the history that I put in a separate category for some reason. It became the home of the New Orleans Academy of Arts in the 1940s for a very brief period of time, and then it was abandoned throughout the course of World War II. And for a while, squatters lived there, so some people believe the ghosts might be ghosts of like homeless people that died there while it was abandoned. But starting in 1966, it was divided into 6 apartments, and that $5.3 million that I got from one estimate, the last time it was sold was closer to $7 million.
Jeez.
To rent this place is over $2,000 a month for the smaller end apartments.
Oh my god. I mean,
so
it is French Quarter.
It is French Quarter. It's also, it's one, renting in New Orleans is extremely expensive to begin with.
Yeah.
But renting in the French Quarter especially is expensive. But hey, that's the Sultan's palace.
Well, I'm glad to learn about it. It's always interesting to learn more about New Orleans because New Orleans is so dense with stories and urban legends that I don't think you can really go to New Orleans and learn everything about it in one go. You had to go a few times to actually learn.
100%. And look, I've been there. There was a while right before my son was born that I or both of us were there at least once a quarter. Like, we were there at least 4 times a year.
I mean, we live in North Louisiana, but we did a lot of stuff in South Louisiana. We have friends in South Louisiana that we're visiting at least once a year.
So, I mean, it's one of those of like, I still don't know everything about the city. I love learning some of these things, but here's the deal. With the Sultan's Palace, this is one of the most touristy things, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
This is a great story. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be mad paying to go on a ghost tour.
And learning about something like
this. Absolutely. Yeah. I ain't mad at that.
It's about getting into the spirit of the city. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, there really is, like, I've said it before, and like some people might like contest this, but I always say that Louisiana is kind of like the spooky state, and
I don't think a lot of people will contest that we're the spooky state.
And when you go down New Orleans, it always feels like there's like some sort of like ghost story you could get into.
Well, it also, like we've said before, it does unearth that New Orleans looks like a European city for the most part when you go to the French Quarter.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, we are Backwoods Obscura. We release every Tuesday. You can find us on most podcatchers. We're hoping to be on Apple soon. And we're also setting up our social media. Hopefully that'll be here in the future. Hewitt, we are also Team Bonus Action.
That's correct. Team Bonus Action is a charity tabletop and video game playing group that right now we are currently partnered with St. Jude, but throughout the rest of the year we are partnered with the Trevor Project or with Batson's Children's Hospital through Extra Life during the Extra Life season that will start over in August. So we usually that. Sometimes we also work with reading charities, education charities. We've done stuff with Wounded Warrior, as well as what was the Arbor? We got trees planted for Earth Day one time. We got about 10 trees planted, which is not bad.
We just like helping people.
Exactly. You can find out more about us at Team Bonus Action on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, or our website, teambonusaction.com. Or you can find out a little bit more about us, especially when we're going live at bonus_team on the hellscape that is Twitter.
And I hope you have a good day or night or whatever time it is there.
Have a good walk, have a good run, hit that exercise bike. Hey, and if you're studying for finals, good luck.